Nikki Haley was asked during a recent press conference, can you name a single state that you can win? And Nikki Haley could not. And there's some interesting stuff to discuss here. So let's watch the clip and then talk about it.
Whether it is here in Michigan or any of the upcoming states that you are campaigning in, today, which state can you tell us that you can definitively win?
We have 21 states and territories that are getting ready to happen. Why don't we wait and see what happens? We don't have to have a crystal ball and say this is going to happen or that's going to happen. We don't live in Russia. We don't anoint kings. We have elections. Let people vote.
But can you name a single state you can win?
I can name that 70% of Americans don't want Donald Trump or Joe Biden. That's a pretty big number. I can name that 40% of Republicans in all our early states don't want Donald Trump. That's a point that you need to talk about. Those things matter. 60% of Americans think Donald Trump and Joe Biden are too old. Talk about that. Instead of talking about what we think is going to happen, let's talk about what the American people have told us.
Ambassador.
The Marquette poll that shows that Donald Trump can't beat Joe Biden and that I defeat Joe Biden by 18 points.
All right. So for a couple different things. The answer is Nikki Haley doesn't have a single state she can win. I mean, what I mean by that is there's no polling showing she's going to win a single state. We have Super Tuesday coming up next week. It doesn't appear that Nikki Haley will win even one state. And so there really are two sides of this. How on earth can you become the nominee without winning a single state? On that basis, she can't win. On the other hand, it is absolutely the case that 40% of Republicans not wanting Donald Trump, she got roughly 40% of the vote in New Hampshire, she got roughly 40% of the vote in South Carolina, her home state. That is significant. That is meaningful. It should really make the Republican Party consider what to do, given that much of that 40% who supports Nikki Haley will not vote for Trump under any circumstances if he is the nominee rather than Nikki Haley. So that's... what do you do with that? That is, if you're the Republican Party, how do you deal with that? Now, there's this also, on the other hand, on the third hand, Nikki Haley says 70% of Americans total don't want Trump or Biden. But almost nobody wants Nikki Haley. And what I mean by that is she's getting 40% of the Republican primary vote, 40% of the Republican primary vote. And they are about 45% of the total voting base. So the people voting for Nikki Haley in the primary are around 18% of the electorate extrapolated. Now, of course, it's more complicated than that. There are people voting Trump who would vote for Nikki Haley if she were the nominee. There are probably some people who would vote Biden over Trump, but would vote Haley over Biden. I know a couple of them. I have a couple of friends in that category. So it's a little more complicated. But when she says 70% of the country doesn't want Trump or Biden, we only know that about 18% of the country wants her. So that's also not a winning scenario. But we have unique circumstances here. And as I've explained before, and people write in and they say I'm being sort of glib, or when I say she's sticking around in case Trump dies or is in prison. And that's the reality. I don't know how else to say it. She's pointed out Trump's significant decline. We know Trump's not healthy. We know Trump is facing 4 different trials, some of which may be adjudicated before the election. Could Trump really be sentenced by then? Probably not, but maybe he could, and he just wouldn't be reporting to prison. I mean, we just don't know. But we have these unique circumstances where she is incentivized to stick around, even if she has not a single state that she is likely to win, because of the unique circumstances here and because we've never seen anything like it. So she's right in some sense. She's distorting in another sense. You know, the poll where she says she beats Biden by 18, but Trump loses. That is a hell of an outlier poll, certainly not representative of most of the polling. But I want her to stay in. Her staying in helps Joe Biden in the long run, I think is pretty clear. It angers Trump. It forces Trump to continue spending at least some money that he increasingly doesn't have to try to keep Nikki Haley from making a serious run against him. And so I hope she stays in. I see no path to victory for her, but that's her problem, not mine. Weight loss is often not easy, especially if you're in your 30s or later. There's no miracle cure, right? The magic diet or the pill or the injection. It's just about healthy eating, not beating yourself up, and having a plan. And that's what our sponsor, PhD Weight Loss, understands. PhD weight loss helps real people see real results at losing weight. It's lifestyle modification. It's using protocols from successful clinical trials. It's evidence-based and it's very reasonable. The founder of PhD Weight Loss is licensed registered dietitian Dr. Ashley Lucas. She has spent decades developing this program. You can check out their website and the amazing results that many people have had. There's no severe calorie restrictions, no medications or supplements, no crazy unsustainable exercise routines. It's healthy eating, customized meal plan, and weekly one-on-one coaching for a truly personal touch experience. The founder, Dr. Lucas, is offering a free workshop just for my audience on February 29th at 3 p.m. Eastern, where you can learn more about PhD weight loss, why weight gain isn't your fault, evidence-based approaches you can implement on your own right away to improve your health. Sign up for the free workshop at davidpakman.com/PhD. They've helped over 7,500 people drop weight. You could be next. The link is down below.